Go. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Emily and Amy. I'm here today to have a short chat with two educators in Iowa who are finishing up the Dyslexia Endorsement. I have Emily Koson and Amy Manning here, and they are Iowa educators who are in the first cohort of teachers who will get the Dyslexia Endorsement. They will finish this fall. So I'm going to let each one of them introduce themselves, and then we're just going to have a chat about their experience and how things have been going for them. So do you want to go ahead and start us off, Emily?
Sure. Like Katie said, my name is Emily Koson, and I live in Sioux City, and I work for Northwest AEA as a literacy consultant. And I have a son who is diagnosed with dyslexia too. On to you, Amy.
My name is Amy Manning, and I am a reading interventionist. I taught kindergarten for a really long time, and I'll be starting my 7th year in reading intervention. And I also facilitate an Iowa teacher group that supports dyslexia. If you haven't heard of it yet, you're welcome to join us on Facebook. If you're on Facebook, we search for Iowa Teacher Dyslexia Support Group. It's a mouthful. Or if you're not on Facebook, or you can do both. You can email me at dyslexia515@gmail.com, and I can put you on the member list.
Wonderful. Well, thank you both for taking the time to chat with me today. I just wanted to do this because I think what's happening with the two of you and the rest of your classmates is a really exciting development for our state. And I don't know that a lot of people know about it. I was sharing with Emily and Amy before we started our chat officially that one of the things that's changed the most in Iowa in probably the last three or so years is that we now have a large group of educators that are really interested in learning about the science of reading and very passionate about learning about dyslexia and educating themselves and educating others. And this is just a really exciting development because when our organization started in 2013, and probably for about 4 or 5 years after that, it was really just a parent movement. So we are super excited that we have educators that are on board and that are walking this journey with us. So a couple of just facts to maybe get out of the way. The Dyslexia Endorsement is a new credential that was created by a law a couple of years ago. And it is a credential that is 18 credit hours. Does that sound right, ladies? Yes. Okay. So it's in between a bachelor's and a master's degree. And right now it is only offered at the University of Iowa. And there was a group of 20-ish educators who were in the first group that will finish up their training at the end of this fall semester. So I guess I wanted to start out and maybe ask each of you why you wanted to get the endorsement. Why did this appeal to you? So,
I'll start. So I guess I really wanted to get this endorsement because first and foremost, I mean, I'm a mom first. And when we got my son diagnosed, there was nobody in our area that could answer my questions. As just a go-to person, I didn't know where else to go. I didn't have the answers, and I was pretty upset. I'm like, why didn't I know this? As being a literacy consultant too. And my why to continue on to that is like, I read every book. I've watched all the webinars, YouTube videos, conferences, and it's like, okay, I need more. I need training. I need official credentials in this area. So that is my why.
Awesome. Awesome. What about you, Amy?
I totally ditto Emily's. Just when I started reading intervention, I just feel like it's such a privilege for me to be able to focus on one content area. And, you know, a lot of teachers, they have just so many other content areas. And so not only to help the students that I'm impacting across the table with me every day, I want to be able to help teachers and parents with all of this information. The same, when I started reading intervention, I just dug into every webinar, every resource about how to help struggling readers. And that led me into the structured literacy for all kids. And I've just never looked back, and I'm just really on a mission. I know about this much. And so having formal training like the endorsement pop up will help me keep growing my learning. And it's been awesome for that. So, yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So my understanding is that the classes have been, sometimes you meet in person, and then you also have some virtual work as well. Emily, could you tell us a little bit about like some of the first courses you took? What were they about, and how were they different than maybe what you've had before?
Kind of the course is really building our knowledge around foundational literacy. Defining, explaining, really gaining that knowledge of how do kids learn to read, and then getting into assessment. Well, how do we assess? Diagnostics, standardized, talking about that, and resources and the research, kind of putting it all together. But one really important thing is like we're not learning. We cannot diagnose students with dyslexia. That's not our role, not what we can be able to do after this endorsement. But
Okay.
it's regardless of a diagnosis, either we're looking at those struggling readers. How do we help them? What do we do? Yeah, so Amy, you can probably add on to that too.
Yeah, it's just been really a great knowledge base to understand the characteristics of dyslexia, so that we know there are many more kids out there that we teach in classrooms every single day that will never get diagnosed, but we have to notice what the characteristics are and give them the right instruction no matter what. And so that's just really been helpful to understand the assessments behind what you're looking for and know what to do for the intervention piece as well.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think you brought up a good point that Iowa schools don't diagnose any condition, including dyslexia. So that isn't going to change. And one of the things that I've learned as not a teacher is that when schools use terms like diagnostic assessments, it means something a little bit different than it might where as a parent, I'm thinking I'm going to get my child diagnosed, that a diagnostic assessment for a school would be a standardized assessment that they might use to identify what areas of skill areas the child is struggling with and what they need help with. So in that way, it diagnoses what they should be doing next. Did I kind of get that right?
Yep, we're just digging deeper. Yep.
Yes.
Right.
So you've learned a lot about assessments that schools can use and that can be done with kids to figure out why they're having trouble reading. Would that be accurate? Okay. And my understanding is that the program includes a couple of practicum where you're working with students. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Amy, what's the practicum about and what's been your experience?
Yeah, last spring, well, winter and spring, we started with, I'm happy that we got this experience, even though we can't officially diagnose, but like, what are the psychologists using? How do we use it? How do we interpret it? And most importantly, like, how do we understand and interpret the reports that come out of a diagnosis? And so getting that practice is really helpful. And then this fall is when we will do, and so we did those with kids.
And we did a elementary and a high school.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
So
We're getting that range.
Good practice in with kids. And then this fall is when we'll do our intervention practicum. And so we will do one elementary student and one high school student for 6 weeks each.
Yep.
Okay. So that's really interesting. There's an assessment practicum as well as an intervention practicum. So you can really get a feel for how do we figure out what's going on with these kids and then what kind of intervention do they need?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Emily, I'll pick on you for just a minute. Has there been any type of like aha or really wow moment for you in this program, things that you just are kind of floored by?
Honestly, it has to be our cohort. The people in this cohort, our class, that was my aha. And it just kind of fueled my my belief, my passion of like, we are all in this for the same reason. And that is a really good feeling, because sometimes it's like you feel, am I the only one that has this thinking? Or it's like, why doesn't anybody else know about this? Or so just that it's very assuring that we are among educators that share the same passion. That, I mean, really, that is my aha. We're not in this alone.
That's amazing. And I think the thing I was thinking when you said that was that I feel like there's such a parallel to parents. And I think as a parent, it's really like, I'm kind of floored to hear you say that as a teacher, that there are educators out there that feel just like I have, where am I the only one that thinks we should be maybe doing this a little differently or talking about this instead? That there's a group of teachers that feels that way too, and maybe shares some of the same frustrations that, we have had over the years. So for you, finding community, it sounds like, has been really powerful.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. What about you, Amy? What's something that really stands out for you about your learning in the program?
Yeah, same as Emily, like just being able to, it's a safe place to ask questions and be vulnerable. The cohort has just been the most supportive, and our teachers too, place to be. This is where my, biggest learning curve is happening, and like mind shifts are happening all the time, and just the wealth of resources that come out of the cohort has been amazing too, and lifelong friends that we're making. And I think, yeah, I mean, you can go to every detail that just reaffirms what I kind of self-taught through the research and everything, but then it just reaffirms everything. And and the breadth of knowledge has just been just huge.
And what I know, what we've been learning is, like, I always take it back to our literacy team. We're in this together. So I know I have my team at work too. And it's like, I'm sharing that knowledge with them too. So it's not, not just my knowledge, but I get to share that. And I'm very excited about that.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things that people really want to know about is how you might see yourself using your training when you go back to your jobs. How will you apply this? And we were chatting just a little bit before we started recording, and I was explaining that I think sometimes parents get confused because the endorsement is called the Dyslexia Specialist Endorsement. There are job titles that can be created called a dyslexia specialist. For example, an AEA could have a dyslexia specialist, or a school could even have one, or a homeschool program could have one. And just because someone obtains the dyslexia specialist endorsement doesn't automatically mean that their job title changes. I think we parents want you to have that, just because we know that right now you guys are the highest trained dyslexia experts in our state. And so we want you to be out there parading front and center and sharing what you know. But and if you don't know the answer to some of the questions I'm posing, you can certainly say that too. But how do you think, do you feel like your job might change, or what you might do, or how do you see yourself using your knowledge in your current role?
I like, as we were talking before, is like, because I'm a PD provider, also I want to create a course of dyslexia. What do you need to know as an educator? And I feel confident that, yep, I have the knowledge. I can share what educators need to know. Do they need to know as much as I know? No, they don't. You can do a lot with just the basics even, and you can make a difference with that knowledge. So I hope I can provide that training. I hope, and I see myself, supporting teams, IEP teams. I can, help answer questions. I can help even at our AEA, our own staff, and have those conversations together. But do I think of myself as an expert? no, I know I have a lot more to learn still. So, but I can collaborate. I can help those parents that have, questions and maybe get them in the right direction and help their child and for teachers, supporting teachers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very excited.
Yeah. Well, I think, yeah, creating a course that is taught by someone with your training through the AEA learning system, I think would be fabulous. And I know a lot of parents are eager to know like how to find their dyslexia specialist within their AEA. The answer is, I don't know that we know that yet. I think parents can always reach out to their specific AEA, but we hope we'll have some more information about that AEAs would be putting out what their dyslexia resources are. So what about you, Amy, not working, directly in the AEA system? How do you see yourself using your training?
Yeah. Well, obviously with the kids that I serve, like they teach me something new every single day. And then I can rely on some of that knowledge that I've had to help them. I'm passionate about helping teachers as well. One other thing that I've been doing the last couple of years is giving like free consultations with parents that aren't sure if they should go to a formal evaluation. That just helps me learn and grow so much too. It's just been word of mouth through friends. So that's been, I really like doing that as well. And yeah, the doors are opening, I think, across the state for more opportunities for dyslexia, just the knowledge to get out there. And I'm happy to be a part of it.
Yes, that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, people that know me probably would not describe me as super patient. So if anybody who knows me is watching this, and I know a lot of parents are like, I want a dyslexia specialist in my school and in my district and my AEA. And I just, if those parents, if you're watching, I want you to know that I hear you, we hear you. And, I always say if there was something that I could do or make happen, immediately that would make everything better for everyone, I sure would. But our goal as Decoding Dyslexia Iowa, our goal in essentially lobbying for this endorsement, writing the legislation that got it passed, and, really pushing for it was that we felt the biggest thing that was missing in Iowa was expertise, that we didn't have anybody in the state that was working out and about that truly had some solid credentials that really had this expertise. So I wish I could replicate both of you and have you everywhere, but I am really excited that the first group, now exists. And my hope is that as you guys go into your areas and work, that other people are going to want to know this stuff too. And it's just going to become a more sought after credential. One of the questions that we get asked a lot about from teachers is they want to know, like, what should they do if they want to get the dyslexia endorsement, but maybe they can't afford it? And just for everyone to kind of have this understanding, the tuition is set by the University of Iowa. That is not anything that we have control over. I will say organizationally, we are working pretty hard behind the scenes to try to design some scholarships or tuition grants for people going forward. We don't have anything to report on that, but that is an area that we are advocating for. But in the meantime, I just wondered if either one of you would have some advice for teachers that maybe are wanting to really learn and grow more in this area. What would you tell them?
Keep learning. Like if you see courses being offered, take them. Reach out to one of us. Read the books, watch the webinars, ask questions. And I do want to say too, it's like if you reach out to like me, basically you get a team of how many of us are there? 18, 16 of us? I don't know. You get a whole team basically. So, but keep asking questions and join Facebook groups. Get those websites that need to be bookmarked, the Iowa Decoding Dyslexia for sure.
Thank you.
I would say, to piggyback off of that, if you're just kind of starting to learn about dyslexia, Jan Hasbrook's book called Conquering Dyslexia is the best one I found for an introduction. And we are so grateful for all the knowledge you put out there, Katie, and the Science of Reading pages. And it's just really, I don't know, I feel so heartfelt that the experts out there, the scientists and researchers and practitioners are so generous with their time and their knowledge to do it for free because they know how important it is. So yeah, I mean, same with Emily, read the books, get the webinars going. There's so much free knowledge out there.
Yeah, you know, there really is more so than there ever used to be. And Amy, I know when you first started your group, I know you kind of had some discussions and then, you know, you would send me some information and Amy has had some nationally known literacy, dyslexia rock stars talking to her virtual teacher group. And, you know, just to have access to that and to have that available is an amazing resource for educators. So, you know, thank you for doing that as well. It's great to have an Iowa specific group that teachers can go to. So
that's how I met Amy.
Through the group.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yep. We became fast friends.
Yes, we did.
Yes. Well, is there anything else you wanted people to know about your experience with the dyslexia endorsement? Anything I haven't asked?
It's just been the best educational opportunity that I've had. It's worth every single penny.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can do it, do it.
Yeah.
No, there's no regret.
If you have a passion for it or you have, it's just, I can't say enough about it. And it's only been the first cohort. So
yes. Yes. Well, I want to thank you both for all that you're doing for kids and for your passion, your willingness to spread knowledge, to stand up for all the things that, you know, we as parents have tried to stand up for. It's wonderful just to have our educator partners. And thank you for taking the time today to tell everybody about how this went for you. So I appreciate it.
Katie.
Thanks for having us. It was fun.
Yeah.